Is this thing on?
Yes, it
Welcome
is.
to Bread for the People. I'm Jim Serpico. It's August, everybody. Are you guys traveling? I'm getting ready to go to Denver myself. Traveling with three other couples, my wife and three other couples. One of the things I love about traveling with groups, whether it's family or friends, it brings out the most fucked up stuff about your friends that you never knew existed. So I'm looking forward to see what happens because my friends got some quirks, but when we travel together on this one, it's going to be interesting. I remember as a kid growing up in Long Island, my father was known as a hothead. Sometimes he couldn't control his emotions. And before he took us on a plane, we would do a lot of road trips, and we would drive somewhere within 2 hours from Long Island. And it was my first vacation that I remember. There might have been some before. And we were taking a car trip. I think it was upstate New York, and I remember the hotel or motel was called Tamiment. And he was out of his mind because we weren't in the car. Soon enough, he was screaming. It already started stressful. It didn't seem like this vacation was going to be fun. I get in the car. I threw up like I always do on a 2-hour road trip. They had to pull over, clean it up. We get to the hotel to meet another family. So my father was a trumpet player. This guy was a drummer. We were vacationing together. They were coming from New Jersey, and they unpacked the car. And my father realizes he forgot his suitcase.
Oh.
So he goes bananas. He jumps back in the car. He leaves us there, and he drives back to Long Island, takes a nap. The front door was open. The neighbor's kids came in. He's sleeping in his underwear. They told me that story when I got home. Finally gets back in the car, goes to Tamiment, plays tennis with my mother and the other couple, and pulls his hamstring.
Mm.
And the vacation was insane. That being said, traveling is an important part of life. It does open your mind to a lot of things. Growing up as an Italian American, I thought I knew what being Italian was. And when my father took us on the Perillo tour, I realized it was nothing like I expected it to be. The food was different. Some of it was amazing. Some of it was mediocre. That's the other funny thing. It's not like every single person in Italy is a great cook. That kind of makes me laugh, too. It's just like here, man. There's plenty of people that don't cook. It's the same way all around the world. But there are people who are into it, and it is a way of life for a lot of people. And as an adult, I took my family to Italy, not on Perillo tours, and we took a cooking class in Florence, and that's what hooked me on my journey. So here I am making pizza and bread. I'm excited to talk to my next guest for several reasons. I've been an admirer for a long time over Instagram. You all may know him by the name of Mind Machine. Others know him as the Porchetta King. And one of the reasons I'm really interested is I have a porchetta right now in my refrigerator, and I'm going to a Gosney meetup tomorrow, and I plan to do a porchetta and hot cherry peppers and garlic oil pizza. So I would like to get into that. Please welcome Angelo Competiello.
How you doing? What's up?
How you doing, man? You're in Italy right now.
I am. I am surrounded by Italy at the moment.
So that's a real background.
That is a real background. This is where I am. There is no green screen here.
It's so beautiful. It could be a green screen.
It could. It really could.
So what part of Italy are you in?
The town is Nusco. It's in Irpinia, which is the area my father's from. We're about 15 minutes or so from where my father grew up. And it's the mountains about an hour eastward from Naples. And it's just a place I love to be.
So you started traveling there when you were a young kid, right?
Actually, no. My father worked a ton, more than any human should, but for us. So our trips growing up were, going down the shore. My father would maybe meet us for a day and a half, or I'd go away with my mother and my sisters. I didn't get to Italy till I was 26 years old on my honeymoon.
Oh, wow.
So, but I crammed it in. I go average about 3 times a year. So I've been here. I love somewhere around 40 times maybe. I'm addicted.
What was the most surprising thing about Italy the first time you ever went?
Well, the first time I ever went was the difference in the food, like you had mentioned. I mean, growing up, we had a lot of authentic Italian, but we also had a lot of Italian American. My mother is American born. My father came here. Wow, went to America, I should say, when he was a young kid. So a lot of Italian American influence went to his business and other businesses like it. So there was a lot that I knew, and it was mostly the food from my grandparents and my parents, and it was just custom food at home. But going to Italy and from one city to another, one province to another, even one house to another, just the difference in styles and flavors and just the diversity of it was crazy. I mean, it blew my mind and made
That's
me
something I
what I am
wanted to
now.
get into. Is like I think the Italian American culture was like this melting pot of all the different regions
Mhm.
because it is so drastically different depending on where you are. And
Oh yeah.
up until I was doing some research on you, I was under the impression that Italians don't eat pepperoni and don't know from it because when I went to pizza school with some Italians that were teaching from Naples, they would make fun of it.
Yeah.
But it does seem there is a region that was using pepperoni the whole time.
Well, I mean, pepperoni is, and a big passion of mine is understanding how Italian American cuisine became what it is and started. And pepperoni was derived, mostly from Calabrese immigrants who couldn't really mimic their salsiccia di Calabria. And, the availability of ingredients was different here. And you won't find pepperoni anywhere here. The word pepperoni is for a bell pepper here. I do
Okay.
know plenty of Italians who, even if they won't admit it, enjoy it. I love it. I'm an Italian American through and through, but Southern Italian has a lot of spicy salamis, and that Southern kind of spice. I mean, pepperoni has a natural spice, so I wouldn't say it's like a spicy salami, especially if you like hot, if you like heat. It's got a little kick, but when it comes to pepperoni, I mean, I still know a lot of Italians are like, it's like against their religion and stuff like that. But it's
Right.
definitely derived from a Calabrese style salami but still different. And I appreciate that. And I'm a big proponent of Italian American food, and I'll fight to the death over how much I love it because it's its own cuisine.
So my friend's daughter met her boyfriend studying abroad and then getting a job in Milan. And her boyfriend's from Naples, and he's in town now.
Mm,
And this Monday, they have me coming over with my little food trailer and 22 of our friends for me to make
nice.
um, pizzas. And I do plan to do the pepperoni. Am I in for trouble from
Yes.
this guy?
Well, listen, the crazy part is, and I've been on either side of the battles because I'm a big lover of tradition, and I'm of traditional Italian, and I'm also a big protector of Italian American, pride. So, if they have an open mind, and I have a lot of Italian friends who love penne vodka and love chicken parm and love pepperoni, then I think they would love it. Most of the time when they try it, they love it, but it's that
Okay.
getting them to try it part that sometimes can be a little iffy. But you know what? I have friends here who I've bought sticks of pepperoni to, and I'm not kidding.
Oh, that's hilarious. Now, coming from the background that you come from, you're actually a butcher too, right?
That's how it all began. I mean, my father initially was a butcher, mozzarella makers. My father, my uncles, and a bunch of guys who started together in Brooklyn in the early '70s, and I grew up mostly butchering, making sausage, cutting meats for the case, doing all kinds of stuff like that, and then making cheese. And then as time went on, less people cooked, so we cooked more.
Mm-hmm.
But as a teenager, I was making a few thousand pounds of sausage a week, helping my father out, helping his guys out for his stores. And I'll always consider myself a butcher first, even if I butcher less than I ever have in my career now. But that's what we are at core is pork butchers, but butchers in general. Yeah.
So, prosciutto di Parma, this
Mm,
guy brought in a leg of prosciutto di Parma.
mm,
And Now I go to an Italian specialty distributor that you may know, Sansone,
Love it.
and I get like the highest end prosciutto I could buy when I'm making my scotchata sandwiches.
Nice.
Is there how much? And they do the same thing with the olive oil.
Mhm.
So, and I'd use Partana on those sandwiches. I use the
Love it.
cheap stuff when I'm mixing it in something else, but I use Partana only on my sandwiches. And is there a difference? Like, is the prosciutto this guy's going to bring in going to be that much better?
Well, the thing is, like, a lot of stuff we get in America is amazing. A lot of stuff here, the only time it would be better is because maybe the practices or the ingredients in the process of making something doesn't hit our USDA standards to come here. We also have the
Hmm.
idea of things being vacuum sealed and refrigerated and shipped. And the time, Italy, you can go to a Salumerie and get prosciutto that has never been vacuum sealed. It doesn't
Okay.
have, you see all these fantastical, stories on TV of like the humidity and the breeze from the River Po coating the culatello, and that's great. But you go to jail if you do that in the United States. So, this there is a lot better that doesn't come here, and it's mostly for those reasons. But it's also a lot, especially I think with olive oil and prosciutto. Those are two great examples of the cost and the effort it takes for some of the best producers of stuff to get it to the United States. I mean, there's people around here that make some of the best stuff you'll ever try, but it's a small boutique farm or small boutique salumificio, and their quality is outrageous, but they probably couldn't even produce enough to export. They don't have the financial means to get all the certifications, and
Right.
a lot of them
It's
won't
all.
even bend their method to fit what would take it to be exported. So yeah.
It's similar to a craft brewery around here, right? Who's specializing in their thing and they serve it locally,
Yeah.
and they're not necessarily going to expand. And it's also the ambiance. We know that you're eating
Oh
it
yeah.
there. It's going to be special no matter what.
100%. That's another part of it. But it's I always, being as though we've been in the Italian retail business as Salumeria operators selling cured meats and cheeses from here. When you taste the cheese you buy in New York, New Jersey, wherever, that's outrageous. When you try it at the place it's made, when it's never been, packed in plastic and shipped out, or never, I mean, if you try a piece of pecorino that's never been in a refrigerator, it's like, whoa, and those are the differences, and you know, there's always been the joke of people saying, oh, they keep the good stuff for them. Of course, there's plenty of companies that their best product they don't want to water down or release to everyone, or they just can't. But it's like you said, the ambiance, and it's the fact that you're here. You drink wine on the property it's made. It's always better. How much is mental? I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in that. I mean, there's great prosciutto in the United States. There's great olive oil. Partana is great olive oil. They're good friends of mine. Sansone carries phenomenal products. I love those guys. Love Leo. I've done a pop up there and hung out with them.
Oh,
It's
you have.
but it's there's some people that are like, oh, you can't get the good stuff here. It's all in Italy. Totally not true. But there's a lot of good stuff here.
Wait, did you do the porchetta pop up?
I did a porchetta pop up. Yeah, we had a porchetta pizza and a porchetta sandwich.
I
Uh,
was there that day.
you were
Now,
there.
now
Oh,
it's coming
great.
back.
Yep, I was
Yes, now
there.
it's coming back.
I was there. I believe it
Okay,
was COVID time, so I believe I was probably in a mask. So yeah, we went through a
that's
lot of
oh my
porchetta. We had a
god,
good time. Yeah, that was a
I
great
had
pop
no
up.
idea. That's so
Yep.
cool.
I helped
Um,
Anthony Falco with a pop up there as well. I've been out there just to visit the guys. It's a cool place, and I love what they do. And it touches my heart because it's like a supersized version of the stores we always had. Our families that my
yeah,
father still has, and mine sort of is. So I love it.
it's a tough business, man.
Yeah,
The
definitely.
retail part of that is specialized, and I think people aren't. As the generations go on, it's not the same, and I don't know if there's as much demand, which makes
Hmm.
it tough. But
Well,
it also makes it interesting. When on a smaller scale, when I'm doing stuff in my trailer, and people just got back from Italy or Florence, and they see the sandwiches that I have, that's when I get the most compliments
yeah.
and interest when people have come back.
That's the best thing
But
now. We growing up in the business, you could only get the Italian stuff for the most part in stores like ours. Now you can go to even a regular supermarket and get a DOP prosciutto di Parma. Would it be the quality
Right.
that we would have? Maybe not, but it's still pretty darn good. And that didn't exist back then. And back then we knew something was on the Food Network or something because people would ask for it. It's like, who asks for vincotto? Like, we can't even sell this now. Somebody's asked about it. Now people go to Italy more than they did, or there's social media and you see and hear about things you never had. So, it also, social media and all the connection does add more misconception and miseducation as well, but that's always going to be. But, people come to my store to buy stuff that I'm like, they're asking, do you sell colatura? And I'm like, wow, I'm getting it in. I didn't know you'd buy it.
Right.
It's cool.
What's going on with this mortadella craze? Is it as big in Italy as it is here?
Oh, mortadella is huge here. I mean, of course, and it's big everywhere. You can get mortadella anywhere. There's mortadella lab stores here. Mortadella is my favorite cured meat of all time. I mean, it's hard to call it a cured meat. It's really a cooked meat, but you know, uh, it's huge here, bigger than ever. I'm glad because I've always loved it. When I was a kid, it was like the kids in my school were like, "Oh, that's like gross bologna, and why does it have like
Right.
white parts in it and stuff?" But any fame or notoriety mortadella can get, I am totally all about.
So, do you always put it on as a finisher, or do you ever put it on pre-bake?
Uh, for the most part, it's a finish. It's used as a finisher, but it really cooks very, really well. I mean, we've made versions of pizza rustica with mortadella. I've even done a crazy lasagna, which I'm going to do once it gets cooler, that has a thin layer of mortadella in the middle. We've cooked it on pizza. It cooks really well. I mean, we've all had fried bologna sandwiches. We've all had
Exactly.
like stuff like that. So, you know, uh, I love doing stuff, and I'm going to do more with the weather. I'm trying to be as in tune with the heat because I can eat ragu in August, but you know, uh, but a cooked mortadella is something special. A little charred, a
I
little
love it.
crisp. You know,
I put it on top and I pre-bake it sometimes.
it's delicious.
Because also, I got to tell you, I'm surprised how many people like being involved with pizza, as both of us are, and we probably follow a bunch of accounts associated. Like a big part of my social media is looking at other people's stuff,
Mm.
and you see the mortadella, but there's a lot of people that don't know what it is, which shocks me.
You know,
Shocks me.
growing up in the New York metropolitan area, there's so many things that are just everyday common to us, even if the majority, if not everybody. But yeah, no, I've been around the country, especially doing food shows, and it's like no clue. And that's where it hurts me to do it, but it is similar. I say Italian bologna. Bologna is named after mortadella because it's from
That's what I
Bologna.
said.
But yeah,
This woman
it,
laughed at me when I said it. She's like, "No, it's not." And I said,
yeah,
"That's the easiest way to describe it. It seems like a somewhat similar texture."
yeah, it's basically. I mean, that's why it's. I was told that's why it's called Bologna. It's Bologna. We say Bologna. I don't know where that came from, but and that's the only way. But when people try it, of course, it's a different flavor. I mean, some are smokier than others and tap closer to the Bologna thing. But yeah, it's shocking to me sometimes how many people don't know a lot of things. But again, it's been so custom to you and I where we
Right?
grew up. It was normal.
Yeah. Now explain Alta Irpinia. Alta Irpinia. I'm saying it wrong. I'm stumbling
No,
on it. Alta
it's
Irpinia.
Alta Irpinia is the pronunciation. It's where I am now is this region, which is official, unofficial region, which is mostly made up of the province of Avellino, and it's the mountainous area in Avellino, and and Alta is the higher part, which is where we are, which is higher in the mountains, as you can
Mm,
see. So
yeah.
growing up, my father left here when he was young, and the idea of the romanticism of Italy doesn't always exist for people that live in Italy because it's just where they live. You don't know, you know, uh, as much as we learned years later. So I never knew what Irpino really was. It was just that thing. It was just a name you heard once in a while. I knew my father was from Avellino. I knew it was Sant'Angelo dei Lombardi. But when I got into the Alpina thing and I started learning more about it and this like respect of the ingredients of the land and the people, the hard work. It's a hard place, and it's very known for devastating earthquakes and mountains. And to this day, you drive around here, and there's 90-year-old ladies in their gardens. It's like super old school in a lot of ways. So it's basically, and I'm getting a lot of people contacting me because, hey, my father's from Grota Minarda, and I didn't know that's in Irpinia, and that's so cool that you have a store. And I have people coming in my store that see the name and they're from towns here, and it's like, it became a thing of an identity thing, to really like hold on to that. My father and his sibling parents, they left because they were poor and wanted a better life, and to me, I want to, pay homage to like the roots that they couldn't, and I'm lucky to be able, fortunate to be able to choose to like push it. I want people to understand, and that's why I'm here now, doing my
Right.
doing my research and meeting with farmers and doing all that. So
Right.
Alta Irpinia is the highest part of Irpinia, right here.
Nice. And so your shop is selling meats and cheeses? Because I noticed that the pizza that you're doing is basically Thursday through, I think, Sunday.
Well, we're open Thursday through Saturday.
Okay.
And that's going to be our schedule. We may one day add on Sunday, but
Now,
it's
when you
set up.
say that, though, is that just the pizza part or the
No,
whole place?
that's everything. We open 11 a.m. and we have, focaccia made in the wood fired oven. We do some Roman style like palla, usually Friday and Saturday as well. But 5 p.m. every night starts my version of like a Neapolitan inspired wood fired pizza.
I never heard of that concept and format from anyone else. Like to me, that's all the
Mm.
stuff I bake, by the way.
Yeah, no,
Um,
and I love that. Yeah, no, it's you know what? It started because I grew up in the Salumerie and the butcher shop. I love it. I had my store for 12 years in Whitecloth. My father has been doing it since he's 12, 13 years old, and it's hard to get it out of my system. I fell in love with cooking more than butchering, and of course the necessity of it was there more. And then I really got obsessed with pizza and doughs and everything. So when I when I signed the lease, the idea was originally to be a commissary kitchen for private parties and consulting and just doing my thing. And I said, I'm going to do a pizza place. I really feel like I'm learning and getting better at pizza and understanding it more if it can ever be truly understood. But right away, I was like, yeah, but I can't ditch. I need prosciutto here. I have to make mozzarella. Mozzarella I've been making for a few decades, and how can I not do it? And then it became a salumeria with a pizza oven, and so that's where we are. We're salumeria, kind of gastronomia. We don't sell the butchered meats anymore. I'd like to someday, but yeah, it's just like if they Hudson Valley Magazine put a not so salumeria, not so pizzeria kind of label on it, and
that's great.
that's it. That's
Different.
my you know.
Different. I'm really interested selfishly in the business side
Mm,
because I'm behind you many years and I'm trying to
mm,
figure it out. But this is what I want to do, a version of it, you know. Um,
nice.
so what kind of neighborhood? Because obviously a lot of pizzerias are open 7 days a week because
Hmm.
the margin is so low.
Yeah.
Um, which at this stage of my life I'm not that interested in,
Mm,
and I you're probably working the other days because you got pre-ferments and you have to mix and
mm.
you have to get ready. But it's possible to pay the rent. And are you at like an industrial area? How do you do it?
Well, the town of Suffern, I live less than 10 minutes from for the last 15 years, and it's like this gateway to the Hudson Valley town. I feel like it's been, not like ignored, but kind of put on the wayside because of the Hudson Valley towns that have gone bigger and the Bergen County, New Jersey towns that surround it. And I've always loved it. I love the downtown. I love the feel. I didn't, want to be in a shopping center anymore. It's got this old feel, and they used it for parts of the Irishman movie because of that, and like, you know, um, but I just wanted a home base. I wanted a place to plant my feet 'cause I did a lot of traveling to cook. And Suffern gave me the opportunity to like not pay the Bergen County rent prices anymore and give myself a way to, do private parties so I'm not open every day. do when I can, work with these companies I work and travel with. I'm fortunate to have built a pretty decent reputation in the area, and I have people that, on the weekend will travel to me. So right now it's working. Of course, I have a ton of money to pay back from building it out, but I don't want to be a 7 day a week place anymore. My store was 7 days a week. I'm not afraid of the hours because I'm working just as many hours now. I want something to be special. I don't want it to be just a place for good food. I want it to be a place that you go for the crazy stuff we make and for the focus. And to me, I took basically almost 4 years off of the business, still working, but sporadically and parties and not, I may, not making the money I did or putting in the hours I did. And I realized how much I don't need to make to fulfill what I want to do with my career and where I'm at now. And where I'm at now is to be focused and make the best food I ever could and make the things I always wanted to make that I couldn't being in the
Yeah.
old design. And it's cliche now, I think, unfortunately, to say passion project, but it is. This is like my kitchen, and I want people to come and eat with me. And you know, I can pay my if I can pay my bills and I can do it the way I want to do it and connect what I love, and that's being here and bringing stuff back from here there, then I'm fine with it. I mean, it does help that we have such a concept because if it was all pizza, I don't know if it would work. I've never owned a pizzeria, and I'll never speak as if I know what the hell I'm doing owning a pizzeria. But we have the groceries, we have our sandwiches, which are getting more and more popular all the time, and the mozzarella and lots of prepared food. So it's kind of like it's working now. It's we opened in the beginning of the summer, which is the worst time to open, especially in the area. But we have regulars already, and we have new people all the time. So business wise, as long as I can pay my bills and put a couple bucks in my pocket, I'm happy enough to be able to say today we're making this because I ate it in Italy last week, and that's what I'm doing.
Right. It seems like it's part circumstantial too, because you got into this as a commissary, which is something I've been looking at. The
Yeah,
rents are really high here, um,
yeah,
which was going to drive me more towards the catering side,
mm,
um, because it does allow me. It's closer to fulfilling my passion at this point than bread making,
yeah,
which I love, and I've been doing it for 5 years. But I have to produce a tremendous amount of bread
mm,
to get to farmers markets every weekend,
there you
which
go.
doesn't give me time to learn more and focus
And
on these other things.
that's what I felt into, or I've always been into, is our stores. And my store was very busy, and we had a lot of really good things. And I want to have a smaller amount of really great things. And private parties are more lucrative. They're less work. They're less pressure in a lot of ways. But to me, it's the need to feed people more regularly. So that's what you have. To me, if you feel fulfilled by just being able to cook and feed who you feed, then you're already ahead of the game. I just took almost 4 years off and heard constantly of people that, oh, I want to try your food. How can I try your food? I can't make it to the pop-ups. Oh, this, and it's like, I'm supposed to be feeding people. So to me, that's
Right.
why the commissary thing went out the window. The ease of working a couple days a week doing parties went out the window for me. And, I want to make 20 of the best things I can make and continue working on other stuff, have that time rather than have the, you know, just endless supplies of food my old store had. So it's really about what you want to do. And like, I don't need to be a crazy volume business anymore as long as I can make good food and feed people and have that door available for people to open.
I love it. I love the mindset, man. Now, how
Great.
did you get involved in your first Food Network guest spot?
Yeah. Well, uh, I got a message on Instagram about from the production company involved in the Beat Bobby Flay show, and of course I'm like, it's a spam, somebody messing with me. I'm always a modest person, always will be, but also you never know who's going to message you. So I had little digging done and found out it was legit. And within a few weeks, we were filming. It was mind blowing to me. I said I would never do food television or didn't really care, but I was just so, like, I guess, flattered that I was asked to do it. I didn't apply or anything. I'm like, oh, maybe somebody's really interested in what I do. So I was like, let's do it. And it was filmed and it didn't come out for just over a year. So in the meantime, I also did a tailgate takedown show with my buddy John Zazzaro, which was like another quick shoot from the hip thing, but it sounded fun, and I get to cook outside with one of my friends who we've done it a million times before. And it was it just happened. I mean, I just wanted to take the opportunity to do it because and we talked about it at length doing the show, but it didn't make the show. But I've been a pork store kid my whole life. So if I can at least stand next to an accredited chef, whether you respect him or give him the credit he deserves, then, I'm already ahead. So,
That's great. Did it help and change your business?
well, I didn't have a business other than doing private parties at the time. Uh,
Mm,
my social media got a little push. I will say, because local television gave me more of like a social media, and I think it's just the idea that you can actually get my food. People watching television in the metropolitan New York, Rockland, Westchester, Bergen area. I think we're probably more interested in pursuing following me because I'm local. So it definitely gave me a lot of credit. I mean, I've got a handful of parties that they specifically said they saw me on a show. You know, what I think it gave is like a lot of people that have been supporting me forever, and I have a huge supporting like base in the business and on the other side. It gave them like, such a satisfaction that like I guess I got a chance to like get out of a pork store and do something. But no, I mean, it helps. I mean, I think there's a misconception of like you go on a show and the next day there's lines down the street. And a lot of times it happened. If I had my store when it came out, it might have been that way, but it definitely, it's still out there and it's still coming on. It's still showing up on the Food Network. So I'm still getting the messages and all that. I think it definitely helped me. Yeah. But, if my store, which is now open, was open then, it would have been, I think it would have been even crazier, but reruns.
yeah, man. What is your philosophy about social media? Like, where does it fit into your priorities? Because you do have a pretty big social media presence.
Social media to me has and always will be just a way for me to show people what I love and what I do, whether it's my food or it's traveling or going to concerts or just being an idiot once in a while. Uh, I know it's a lot more than that for a lot of people. I have very, derogatory views on a lot of social media, especially the food part of it. But I think if you weed through all the nonsense and all the fake stuff and all the trends, and it's a way to find great people, whether it's because of their food or because of their music or because of just them. So I love social media. It's a love hate thing. I hate the bad part of it, just like anybody hates with anything. But I've met some of my closest friends in the last few years, or new closest friends through it. I've gotten my food out to more people because of it. I'll never be a huge millions of followers guy because I don't do the gimmicks maybe or care to be, follow the regimens of when to post, how to post, and this, that. And most of the time, like friends of mine are like, "Oh, you should get an editor," or so, But social media is good. I just think, the availability of knowledge and experience and even just visibility of things makes it amazing. And then it also makes the smoke and mirrors part of it. And now we have, people that are considered great chefs for making a dish a month and good editing and like, whatever their gimmick is or however they may look physically is becoming a thing to get sponsorships and get likes and get all that. And
Right.
me personally, I'm a purist. It's been my whole life since I'm a very young kid in this business. So I just try to, you know, keep my distance and just keep my head down and do what I do.
I gotcha. Um, the first bread I ever started to make before I started selling bread, and it became my most popular thing and still is, uh, after I started selling it, is prosciutto bread.
Mm.
Do you make it?
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I was just talking about that with my few uncles and aunts and my father. And I was part of an article for Taste about lard bread, which is another name for
Okay.
prosciutto bread, or at least it's a
Yeah.
similar product. What we always made, which I'm going to finally be introducing to my new store in the next few weeks, we called it cicola bread, or it's more of a lard bread. It can be called a prosciutto bread. It's pork cooked down in its own fat for like hours and rendered out and then mixed with dough and cheese and baked. So that's how we always did it.
And the
Again, that
chigoa stands for, I
well,
believe, the burnt, crispy
yeah,
pieces left in the
yeah.
oil.
There's a lot of names for fritili, ciccioli. My father and my grandmother said cicola, so that's what I say. So,
What
yeah,
is the
and
meat that cooks down? It's not prosciutto that forms that.
for ours, it's usually, different cuts of pork. It was always a thing that was like the trimmings from all the pork butchering with
Right.
all the fat and, it's the spices and salt and everything. For us, it was anything from shoulder to loin to neck meat to whatever it was. And it was just ground
Oh,
up super coarse and cooked down. But again, I love prosciutto bread from Brooklyn. We sell it from a bakery in Brooklyn, and it's chunks of prosciutto in it. Some use more of a ham, some use more of a salami, some have lard in the dough, some don't anymore. That taste article, which is called God Save Lard Bread, that I was part of,
okay.
and I gave them a little like a recipe similar to how I make mine. It was cool because it kind of went into that because you can go to places in the Bronx and they make a super peppery one that's like with a fatty salami, or you can go to places where it's straight up prosciutto. Some have even chunks of all cured meats. I mean, we've even made it where we take that lard that we cook down and mix in ends of all the cured meats, which is like the best stuff we always hid for ourselves. So it's prosciutto bread as a name is something we only used for the ones we sold from bakeries that made a prosciutto bread, but it's like a lard bread,
Hmm.
and there's so many versions all around Italy. It's great.
I do it. It is around Italy, huh? Oh, that's awesome. I thought it was
Yeah,
more of a New York immigrant thing.
well, the prosciutto bread part, I don't think I've ever seen the word prosciutto bread. There's just, different, I mean, we made in Sardinia with my friend's aunt, just with chunks of the lard itself rendered down in the bread. There's a place in Siena in Tuscany I always go to called Micoli that makes, I'm not sure what they actually even call it, probably because I'm usually just like obsessed with eating it and shoving it down my throat. And it's more similar to like that Bronx, Brooklyn prosciutto bread, different shape and not as greasy, but yeah, there's so many different versions of breads with meat and fat, especially fat, or whether it's cooked with the lard itself or pieces of it around here. I don't think you'll find a prosciutto bread per se, but just like everything we eat Italian American or almost everything, it started here in some form.
Right. I do it with prosciutto, pepperoni, salami, and sometimes mortadella, but I moved away
Nice.
from that because of the nut allergies.
Oh yeah,
Um,
oh yeah.
and
No, that
then
sounds good.
I use uh, 45% durum flour
Mm, nice.
in there, and I do use butcher pepper,
Got to do the
which I
coarse
like.
pepper. I love it. I'm a
Coarse
big black
pepper.
pepper fan.
Yeah.
We
Not too
grind our
much.
own, and we have. I'm slightly crazy in a good way, so we grind our own pepper, some finer, some coarser, but I like that chunk of pepper in there. I love it. And to me, it makes it. And the combo of pepperoni, prosciutto, and all that's all me. They have a lot of mortadella without the nuts still. So I mean,
Yes,
there's, we
I
sell
did see that.
three types in my store now. One's pistachio, which is the old school I love the best. And we have a spicy one that has like a little pickled calabrese pepper in it, and we have a truffle mortadella.
Oh, wow.
So
Never had that in my life.
it's
I got to
one.
come up there and see
Great,
it.
definitely. Mortadella is literally holy to me. So yeah, I like that. If you ever have an extra prosciutto bread left, let me know. I'll meet you on the
Well,
LIE.
well, I'll go up there, man. I would love to. What are you baking the bread in? You not?
Well, the breads we always did, again because we were pork stores, it was always convection oven. I'm
Oh,
gonna
yeah,
mess
that's what I do.
around. Yeah, and I love convection oven's a great tool. I want the new version to be done in one of the pizza ovens because we do have an electric deck pizza oven and the wood fired oven. Um, I'll probably make it in both ovens to start to see, how I like. I'm always evolving things. I hate the word perfecting a recipe or the idea of perfecting a recipe. I don't think anything gets ever perfect. So
I
You know,
agree.
I've done it in the electric oven, and I'm gonna work on it in the deck oven. Excuse me, the wood fired oven as well. So, you know, that's the part of this place is like the things we did all these years in one way. I just want to do it different. So, you know, cooking our meatballs in the wood fired oven, roasting our chicken in the wood fired oven, cooking, you know, all these things is just like this is where I'm at now, and this is how I did it growing up, and now this is how I do it now.
So the point of cooking the meatballs in the wood-fired oven is the high heat, right? And so I could do something similar in a cast iron grill in my Gosney Dome.
Yeah, I mean, we don't go super high so as not to like char the outside too much and the inside go raw. I usually keep it around 6 to 650, which is still pretty
Hmm.
high. Uh, you know, a lot of wood fire cooking, especially at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. And again, I'm learning. I'm not, you know, the master of these things, but to me, it's the wood flavor doesn't affect as much as the process of doing something that old school way. You know, wood
That's
fired
a
pizza.
scientific fact. I mean,
It
and this is
totally.
one of the big debates on
Mhm.
like these Facebook sites. And
Oh yeah,
I don't engage anymore because these people don't know what they're talking about. But
yeah.
you know, if you're cooking something for 60 seconds, it's not going to absorb it.
No.
It's going to smell
Listen,
great in the yard, though.
oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. Listen, we travel the country cooking pizza. People are like, oh, there's nothing better than wood fire pizza at these expos. And we're like, well, you know, you're cooking a pizza for 90 seconds. You are not tasting wood. I would challenge the best palates to say you're tasting wood.
I'll
Me, I
tell you
like
another
the.
trick I learned
What's that?
that people have the gas fueled Marafornis
Mhm.
that also burn wood and do the wood as a fake, like it's
Oh yeah.
burning in there, but
And
it's
that,
doing nothing.
and the funny part is that is so common. I got the gas assist on my oven because of the 3 days a week. So we light the oven Wednesday with gas for about 6 8 hours and just let it burn, and then we start Thursday morning all wood. So
Oh,
the gas is just to cure the oven to heat the oven up, and all the cooking is done with wood. You know, but again,
that's
like you
interesting.
said, you can't, you know, if you have slow embers and you're adding some smoke to something and you're doing all that, you're gonna taste the wood. You're smoking, you know. But like to me, it's not so much. Our meatballs don't taste like wood smoked, and I don't want them to. I
Right.
will make smoky meatballs, but not our traditional, our everyday meatballs. But to me, it's the idea of building the fire and working the fire and like understanding it and cooking old school and you know that's what it is for me. It's the tradition of it, and you know anybody can light a stove or an oven and cook in it, and I don't take away from doing that. I do it every day. But to me, like getting better at working the fire and learning the tricks and stuff, and it's still not as you know intense as 100 200 300 years ago when they had only wood fire, but you know it's to me it's about the process and about like the history of it. You know, and the wood
Yeah.
fired pizza, people are like, you're crazy. You're not tasting the wood. I know, but I want to cook with wood. I like it. You know, it's the old school way. It's tradition. It's you know, it's archaic and caveman and you know, it's a challenge. You know, like I said, if you know, one of the hardest things is what I've learned in the last handful of years has been about lighting the fire properly and building the coal bed and using the right certain cuts of wood for certain things and that's more about it than the flavor you're getting from it unless you're using the wood to flavor.
And you learn that by calling friends and saying, you know, give me a hand here. I know
Well,
it's trial and error to an extent, but
I am a person who likes to torture myself with doing it the hard way. I've reached out to friends plenty of times. I have a great group of friends who we constantly, hey, what am I doing with this? Hey, we do that. You know, why am I not getting this? Why am I not getting that? But you know, most of what I learned, especially in the last, you know, decade, I guess, has been just like let me try this and see how it works. And maybe you know
well,
you could easily get consulting. You could easily watch YouTube videos, and I don't knock either of those things. But to me, it's like every 6 months to a year, I'm like, man, I didn't know what I was doing last year because I
right.
figured it out more. And yeah, there's been plenty. I have super talented friends, and like that's a crazy advantage as well. So if I'm ever in a bind too, I know there's someone who knows something more than I do within a text message from me. So, you know, and
Yeah, man.
that's the coolest part.
All right, last question. I really do appreciate you doing this from Italy on your
Yeah,
vacation.
absolutely.
Um, is it true that you're an official taste ambassador for the city of Genoa?
Yes, the pandemic kind of like put a curveball to that, and I don't know. I would like to revisit it again. But
Okay.
2019, Roberto Caparuccio, very good friend and an inspiration, Cesare Casella, the first chef I ever emulated. I don't say I won't say emulated, but like respected and sought his like I guess wisdom or whatever. We went to Genova. We worked with the consortiums for focaccia di Gecko, for focaccia genovese, and for pesto alla mortaio. So mortaio. So excuse me. And we worked with them. We learned, we practiced, and we got certified by the mayor of Genova as the official taste ambassadors and masters of focaccia genovese, which anybody knows me, I hate masters and kings and gods of food and or anything. But yeah, I had the experience. I have it's something that I don't even have on my Instagram profile anymore because it's kind of hard to explain in that sense. But it's yeah, I mean, hopefully one day we'll revisit it and do the things we plan to do with it here and there for the city
Right.
of Genoa and for those things. I'm far from Genovese. I have none of it in my blood, but it was me, Italian American kid, going with two crazy Italian pizzaiolo and chef, and getting that opportunity. And yeah, so yeah, I could say it.
It's amazing. Well, keep up the great work. Have a great
Thank you,
time on vacation.
thank you.
I'll come up and visit you and bring you a prosciutto bread and
Oh
check out
yeah,
the oven and everything that's going on.
awesome, man. I look forward and thank you. It's an honor to do this, and any chance I get to talk to somebody on the level about what I love, it means a lot to me. So I thank you for doing this, and being here makes it super special for me because this is where my career is right now, whether I'm here physically or not.
That's what it's all about. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob.